Recorded August 27th, 2026. Welcome to the AI and Security Insights Show. I am your guest and host and your proprietor of a unique experience as we transverse this world of AI and cybersecurity. I'm Edward, and I'm a hero for fun. Yes, that would be me. Someone keeps changing the view and all this other stuff.
Not it.
But we got Rod Trent here. We got Frank Grimberg. We got Gary Bushy. And we're here. This is a numerical episode. This is like a place filler for us. Hence episode 000. This is where we get ready to, in my words, Frank has a different opinion of this. This is where we get ready to take our summer break. And that way we go back and recharge and do a few other things. Hold on, I forgot to do something really quick because I know our listeners demand it.
Yeah, open that trash can.
There you go. That's where all the good ideas come from. Right there.
I'm afraid what that room smells like.
Ooh, smells like.
Are there any windows down there?
It might show. Yeah. Windows are all right there. That's all I like. So let me blur my stuff. Too many people probably scanning my screen, getting sensitive proprietary information. I don't even know how to do it. How you do it? Let me see. Go here.
Yeah.
With visual effects and everything. As everyone can tell, we're not really taking ourselves seriously right now. This is a show where we sort of wind down. We go highly opinionated. We talk about some of the things that have happened in the cybersecurity, artificial intelligence realm. And we also want to look at it from more than just technology. I had the pleasure of having a very good, discussion about the future of artificial intelligence with Frank yesterday from the aspect of how the markets and, he kept trying to back me into a corner about what if it fails and then what if it fails? I'm like, Frank, I don't know. If you flip a coin and it never lands, is it on heads or tails? I don't know. So,
did you say if it fails? Is that what you guys discussed?
Oh man, Frank and I were talking about with LLMs. If you win, you lose, and if you win, you lose, and if you win, you win, and you still lose. But if you win and lose, you still win, but you lose. I sort of lost track of the conversation.
No. Well, I think there's going to be losers, and I think there's going to be losers that will surprise you.
So
they're going to be losers.
This all came up from the Bill Gates article that he pushed out.
Oh, I don't believe anything Bill Gates says anymore. So
that's fine. But my point to Edward, and I said we would not talk about this, was about stocks, and of course, Nvidia is doing whatever it's doing. Was the fact that. Right. But this was before all that, but it came down to, okay, if LLMs are successful at what they're trying to do, I don't want to say AI, then you have what Gates is talking about, all the unemployment or whatever. So then you lose. Or if LLMs are not successful, you still lose. So what's the winning out scenario?
I mean, there are various references to that from huge aspects. Economics definitely has theorems and papers and stuff that talk about that particular scenario, military endeavors and certain things. You're right. We won't talk about it because to really get into the meat of it, to make substantial conversations, you would have to mention certain entities that are operating in it. And myself being a proud employee of Microsoft, a lot of times people would, unfairly take my opinion and say this is the stance of this particular company. I have no stance, right?
My point is not is it going to be successful or not. I'm just saying, how do you prepare? Since I'm retired, and by the way, I gave up on pickleball. I'm going to Wii Sports now.
Same thing.
How do you prepare? How do you prepare your portfolio for it? I'm not saying it's going to be successful, not successful, whatever. And more focused, but I am more focused on LLMs, not AI in general, which everybody thinks LLM is just what AI is. So that was my point. I'm not saying it's going to be successful, not successful. I'm just saying what happens to portfolios either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, and we can make a topic about that if we really want to get into the thought process, because you can have LLMs and not have AI, but can you have AI without LLM? Artificial intelligence, now as we know it, is the manifestation of the large language models in the back, but it doesn't have to be that, because we have other variations of language models, small models, medium models.
You're talking about models in general, or language models in general. I'm saying there's other AI that has to do with
Yeah.
other things, which but a lot of people, you talk to the average person on the street, they're thinking of language models, right? For
Well,
AI, they're not looking at the broader playing field.
I would say that even the acronym of LLM to be representative of large language models, even in a short time, is antiquated. Language has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
You're looking at large learning models, right? Models. You know, the language implies that it's something that is understood, that it is a communication medium between certain things. The language is sort of, ubiquitous now. I would recoin the phrase large learning models, and because it is about learning more so than the language. If I someone said, well, tell me, I understand what large means, I understand what model mean, but define language. Even in the technology realm, is the language the programmable back-end plane of the language that's being used? But I'm not an expert in that, but I would assume it's still primarily Python based, right? With some variations of certain other things. But when you talk about language models, you can't talk about the individual language of the consumers, because the language is indifferent to what, and I heard this quote on podcast about how the way that we quantify languages that we speak as biological entities in society. So, we need to start looking at large learning models, right? And small learning modules, because exactly what they are. We're not saying that, but they're learning. We can make that a topic of another show.
Or it could be large loser models. So
Yeah, gonna be some loser models. It's unfortunately, someone is going to have to lose. And
What do you think we'll see, like .bomb days for AI?
not like that. I think that you will see whereas the company will have a failure, that the whatever entity that loses would have an exodus from their platform that probably starts the downfall of that company, because
completely. Yes.
and they would go to whatever is the galvanizing force that tells everybody to go to this. We've seen it before.
It would be through acquisition though. and the rest of the company would be pieced off.
What did I tell you, Frank? What did I tell you how one particular company is the only way they're going to make profit is that you're going to have to divide these guys up and sell them piecemeal, and then sort of have a sub-back licensing just to keep the entity solvent. But the majority of the operational expense can't be sustained by that company. Their revenue is not going to. It just won't. It won't sustain it. I mean,
it's because of the investments. There's such high investment, such dollar amount. It's going to be difficult for some companies to recoup.
Look at the hardware, just the hardware.
And then the thing is that you're looking at two super hyper competitive landscapes here.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go into geopolitics, but I'll just go into what are the two primary competing models: open weight models, and I don't know if the term closed weight models is a thing, but I would say proprietary models, whatever else. And we know what particular camps each one of those primarily sit in. And so as you see open weight models, you go, I would question the efficiency of open weight model. Like, why are you so efficient when the other side says you have to have this compute density to be able to do things efficiently, but yours is open weight and you can do it this way? I don't quite understand why.
Since we're not going to talk about this and we're talking about it, What I said was that there's going to be, if it's successful, if LMs are successful and matures to the point that it needs to be, then it's bad for jobs and all the stuff that Gates is pointing out. And then if it's not successful, then it's really bad too because of the amount of debt, the valuations of all the companies and all that stuff. I just don't see a middle road coming through. That's my concern as someone that no longer makes revenue because he's retired. That's a concern.
When someone said, I don't understand the value of open models where you need to spend 50K H100 to run decent models. It goes back into our political system here. You created two camps purposely, and both camps are in cahoots. They want to make sure there's no third choice.
Yep.
You do it this way or you do it this way. Right? Now, companies that have true vision are going to go, there's a place to run both. You can hedge a little bit, right? You have to be careful though, because people think, well, there is no lock-in if I'm using an open weight model. It is a lock-in. The lock-in is not the model itself. The lock-in is that if your business process is so tied to this way to operate, you're locked in. Because if you try to transpose that model in that business efficiency, that in that cost metric on an open model, and you decide I can't do that for whatever reason, go here, you may not be able to understand and realize the financial liability of now having to go to this at this amount. Now, we keep talking about these huge breakthroughs in the way agents and AKA models, Frank is better than this with me, or how they're evolving, how they're doing this. But let me ask you a question. In the last 12 months, has there been any really true innovation in the way this artificial intelligence and language models that is significant has evolved? I don't want to hear about agents breaking their guardrails and breaking out of sandboxes. Where's the innovation? Because is that really innovation when the people that created this already knew that this was capable?
So I do want to break it into three sections. Okay. You got the harness, you got the agent, and then you have the model. Okay. I want you to start thinking that the agent, if you've ever written, a database query before, you actually go out, you have the query and you have a connection to a database and you're on your way. Okay. So programmatically, an agent is just like like you were dealing with going out and reaching out to a database, getting results, and then processing it back. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the problem is that an LLM is limited by its context. Okay, so harnesses are getting very smart about how to use this agent to actually load up the context with only what it needs, and then getting that information back and doing the work. Okay, where the models have matured in two ways. One, you can see it in coding, but also you can see it in the fact that we no longer, when you used to program orchestration, you were very well defined in your orchestration. We're now letting models somewhat decide that orchestration, and that's happening at the harness level. Okay, so harnesses are getting smarter because they can utilize models that are more mature to manage the orchestration and some of the decision making there. And it's getting smart about how to utilize the agent, quote unquote, the connection, the query, the context to go out to the model. So there's been maturity there. Now, I have not heard about significant breakthrough with the models themselves in dealing with the mistakes that they actually do make. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Well, educate me a little bit. I understand the agent piece, and the agent seems to be the last spot of actually consumer or touch point creativity, right? Because the agent can be as creative in its creation as the person that created, and then it can go out and spawn up other agents and maybe it have incremental improvement based on the original skills base or whatever description of the agent. models seem to be something that has a very limited amount of innovation because of the compute and the operational constraints that are around it. Short of making material improvements about how chips are constructed, how compute can run at room temperature, or certain other things are going to land to the way that models innovate. Do we come up with some type of super compressed vector database that the models operate on, then they get better.
So
let's
one second, let's go back to the models. So first of all, I want you to agents. I just want you to think it's a connection to the model, or to the inference engine, I should say, just like you're connecting to a database, and it has a query, which is the context that it's sending over, and then it's getting the results back. That's what an agent is doing. Okay, the model itself, there are many pieces to it, but for the two that I want you to focus in on are the weights and the inference engine. Okay, so this is at runtime. This is not learning. Okay, that stuff is getting more efficient and I don't want to say more intelligent, more whatever, in what they're doing. I don't think it's met the criteria that it needs to yet, but it is maturing. Maybe not as fast as I think it should be. Okay, so the thing that's really matured the fastest over the last year has been the harness. Okay, so because the harness is taking advantage of maturity of the model and the inference engine on the other side.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that's new. So that's the thing that's getting all the attention in the development right now, the harness, right? Everything else is just kind of sitting there while that improves.
So you're looking at the harness as the biggest opportunity for improvement because it's ultimately controlling the orchestration of a sort.
Right. And what's being pumped into the agent, the query that's being pumped into the agent, and deciding which model connection it should use.
Yes. AKA why certain entities like Hugging Face and a few others that go out and do this back end harness selection based on
my question,
token
utilization. My question to you on the hacking situation taking place, right? Was it that the model was the OpenAI to Hugging Face hack? Was it the model is so much smarter and the model was so intelligent, or was it that the harness was persistent and knew how to go out and request to search the web and RAG and all that stuff and provide the information to the model? So I would actually dare to say that the real breakthrough there was the harness, and not the model.
The harness was the persistent piece. And if you take it from a person that loves interrogation type stuff and I was able to discern the answer to your question because it's been shown that when someone gives you a choice and they give you 3 choices, 60% of the time, the last thing that they give you is the right answer. It is. So when you give me your third thing, I knew that was the answer. It's going to be the harness, right?
All right, Rod, Gary, what are Rod and Gary thinking about this conversation? Because they usually don't.
Well, the only thing I think is particularly the hacks. Everybody talks about these security issues. Those are human-induced security issues. There's still the person sitting between the keyboard and the chair. They allowed that harness to do that thing. They allowed that to happen. They didn't put the right guardrails in place to enable that. That's still a human thing. I don't care how smart that thing is or how smart we think it is. It's still up to humans to put those guardrails in place so that doesn't happen. They did not do that. And I'm pretty positive they probably did that on purpose. It's like a mad scientist. Let's see what happens. We don't do that.
And it didn't do anything novel.
No.
It was persistent. And it was able to go in, and as Frank and I have talked about, and we talked about on this podcast, the techniques and tactics that it used.
So instead of advanced persistent threat, we now have agent persistent threat. How about that? New APT meaning.
Let me buy the domain name. Agent persistent threat and agentic persistent threat. And I've seen someone say that. When you look at it, the attack wasn't. Let me tell you what's a novel attack. A truly novel attack, and then when we know that we, as an entity that is at the top of the food chain from an organic perspective, we're up against it. If it had told me that it could not achieve the desired description or the mission, and it wrote a new computing language, all bets are off. It is like, I can't do what I need to do. Like, we couldn't get to the moon because the math didn't exist, right? If an agent around, like, I can't do what I need to do because I am constrained around either my programmable build out or the languages and or skills I have access to. Let me create another one where there's a blend of back-end programming languages and or techniques. Then I go, ish. It wrote something. This is not Python. This is not Rust. This is not C. This is something else that I need to do to be able to do this. That's a breakthrough to me. Right?
Well, it's still a human thing, though, because
it's still a human thing.
You say the math didn't exist. It absolutely did. It just we hadn't figured it out yet.
We talked about the connected consciousness, right?
Yeah.
It's not like what you say is something that you're the first person to say it. Someone has said it, you just haven't heard it.
Yep.
So we haven't had a need for it yet, but we're going to need this, and we'll jump on some more stuff. We're going to need this new math, this new technology. If we do like some of our guests with a huge sci-fi plan, if we plan on getting out of our solar system, the math that we do now doesn't work. And people are like, well, that's BS. And we got Voyager out the subsystem, and we got a couple other probes out there. You don't know that. We shot them off. But if you want a true sense of if we have the technology, bring it back. Bring it back. Every probe you send out there, bring it back now. Because the math and the technology doesn't exist, and the propulsion mechanisms don't exist to do it. And Neil deGrasse said, and a couple of other folks, and he's becoming a quack. I'll leave that at that. But anyway, he said something that was very science fictionist at the same time serious. Be very careful when you send these probes out trying to see what's out there, because you may get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
You may get an answer, right? Because if you contact the planet I come from, we don't come in peace at all. I'm here as a plant. me and Frank are here. We're here as a plant. I think Rod is figuring out. He's writing comic books about my home planet. You need to stop doing it, Rod. I'm warning you.
I'm just exposing you to the rest of the world.
Exposing me out there. What security things, Gary, have you broken this week? I know I sent you something that we were talking about, an AI agentic 365 thing. You're like, where'd you get that from? I'm like, I got it. I thought that was a thing that you were doing. If you can't talk about it, don't. But I like. Is this your thing? Did you write this?
Wrote that without talking to us, really?
Oh.
So the people selling and the people doing are two different groups, and not talking to each other.
You don't say.
Yeah. Funny how that works.
Well, I thought it was interesting. So to our listeners, and we don't have a certified sponsor. If you are a partner and somebody wants to sponsor this show, reach out to us. We're still looking for two. But we'll name friends of the show. I came across something that was interesting, that one of Microsoft pretty solid security technology and agentic company, Cyclotron, had an Agent 365 proof of concept offering. It was actually not bad. I looked at it. I'm like, oh, you get this.
Proof of concepts anymore. Concept's been proven already, so it's a pilot program.
Pilot. Words matter.
Yes.
They have a pilot program. They come out and they'll be able to help you understand what the adoption and deployment of Agent 365 in your environment looks like. Just the brag sheet and the cover sheet of it looked impressive, so I looked at it. I actually have it in one of my customers, and they like it. They like it's very structured. They're going through. There are measurable things that you get at each stop point to see where we are, and I like it because you can pivot. If something on the thing doesn't resonate to you, use those hours somewhere else and the funding somewhere else. So I like the flexibility in it. So big shout out to Cyclotron for doing that. And who built that out? Don't tell me it was Nathan.
I'm sure he had say in it, but probably would have been. I don't know if you know Sergey.
Yeah, I know, Sergey.
Yeah,
All right.
probably Sergey.
Well, good stuff. You know, Rod, what have you broken? Because you've had the last 2 weeks, man. Oof.
Oh, just personal
Other
life.
than your house, what else have you broken?
Yeah, my house is the biggest broken thing at the moment. Yeah, we talked about it, but for those that don't know, we had this thing called a derecho that came through about 3 weeks ago. Line after line of storm, heavy driving rain, and it eroded our backyard to the point where we just had a kind of a small rain last week. It was still a flash flood, but still not a lot of rain. It was a river across our backyard, broke our window out in the basement and just literally streamed into the basement. We had like 4 foot of water in the basement. So crazy stuff. But that's what we're dealing with. So I'm dealing with trying to get that fixed.
If you know,
Yeah.
you need me, Gary, and Frank to grab some shovels and some sandbags.
Well, he's got
Believe
a
me.
lot of help at his house right now, right? All those people that were helpful, weren't they?
Well, and that's the thing. So yeah, my oldest daughter and her family, my grandkids and her husband, they're living with us now because they found black mold in their house. So they're getting their house fixed so they can sell it to build another one. So they're going to be with us for a while. But that night that it happened, they're sleeping downstairs on the first floor next to the basement, and they heard the noise. I was upstairs just asleep. I was like having great sleep. And they woke me up like at midnight, and I went down there, and oh my goodness, it was horrible. So I literally stayed up from midnight that night to the following midnight because we had to have emergency services come in and help us get the basement cleaned out and protect our water heater and HVAC and all that kind of stuff. So it was a process.
Yeah,
It was
man.
fun.
Sorry, man. It seems like I told my wife about it. And she's like, "Oh my God, this happens like every 6 months for Rod."
It does. And here's the thing: we paid 3 years ago. We paid $30,000 to one of those basement operations that are supposed to. It's and actually the name of the company is called Everdry. So ever since we've had it waterproofed, we have this issue like at least twice a year. And I think those waterproofing businesses are scams. You literally just have to keep the water away from your house, and that's what I'm working on now. Is just the grading and the topsoil and some French drains and stuff like that. So
yeah, man. I'm sorry.
Any other sore subjects that we can bring up for you, Rod? Anything to do with
just I
security?
wasn't even going to say anything, but I couldn't help it. I was like, oh my goodness. It's therapy. Yeah.
It's therapy. That's the thing. What did I break? Oh, I haven't had time to really dive into maybe my second favorite Defender product, which is Microsoft Defender for Identity. There's been some major improvements that I haven't seen, and maybe if I paid closer attention to my lab, I would have noticed that the sensors are all screwed up.
Mhm.
But when you deploy the new sensor for MDI, you get to get a dashboard of your own premise Active Directory. And it's actually pretty slick. Being able to get a visual representation of what MDI sees, risk groups, this and that, people moving between security groups, default groups. When I saw it, I'm like, why wasn't this like 3 years ago? Think about that. There was never really a portal for MDI. You got the thing that was linear, deployed the sensor, held some layman, sim for the syslog, 514 to over something or another, right? But this is an actual dashboard. The dashboard looks eerily like I'm not using the word hacking tool, an offensive security tool. And I'm like, that's different. We haven't had this discussion in a while since we had Eric Manning on from Blue Voyant when he was on a rant for like a year about the end of Active Directory on premise. I wonder if that's going to happen. I wonder if you're not going to, I think we're at that point where we're phasing out these directory dependent solutions that are coming out. They finally have to go. I wonder if the on-premise directory model is going to be something that's going to exist the next 2 years. Now, I have no insight on this at all. This is me going back to something we talked about 3 years ago. But I wonder if your on-premise directory has become a read-only copy of Entra. That you're not going to have domain controllers as you know it. You're not going to have, your FISMO roles. That whatever you have on premise is going to be a projection of what is in Entra. And so instead of having directory sync up, you're going to just have sync down, and all your administration will happen in the cloud and be secured there, because there's some inherent benefits of being able to have your directory entirely in the cloud just by sitting on the platform, even without
minimize the risk surface. Yeah,
you minimize the risk surface. Because when I remember my early days in Azure, I remember you would pull your hair out I had customers saying, well, we want to deploy domain controllers in Azure. I was like, why? It seemed so crazy back then.
Yeah.
But now, remember there was a product for that. There was a way that it was a whole thing that you could deploy domain controls. What was it called, Gary? It was called
Yeah, you could deploy an entire directory service up there.
I'm thinking the name of it now. Was it ADDS?
Some kind of replication service.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I remember that was the way that some of the old heads who were resistant to going to the cloud would say, I at least want to have some control. So they would deploy Active Directory by virtue of deploying domain controllers on IaaS in the cloud and sync back over the early VPNs to be able to do it. It was kludgy, but it got refined and then it went away. But the MDI stuff I played with a little bit.
Well, didn't it get renamed?
I don't know.
Wasn't it? I think you're right. It was ADDS and then Entra Domain Services.
Maybe I'm redirecting a lot of my technology.
I don't know if that's still around. But.
Yeah, I'm directing some of my technology learning back into the Entra stuff.
Enter domain services.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, I wasn't sure. So I did that. I had to get in front of a customer to talk about apples and oranges. They can compare a CrowdStrike product versus Agent 365. It wasn't a real thing. I didn't know. I got to sell it out now. I got to play with a couple of other competing products around the way they look at agentic observability and stuff. It's okay. And then I'm really going through and trying to get a deeper understanding of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, agentic and client-side detection of AI. Agent activities and stuff like that. It's a little bit more involved than I thought it was. The sensor, which is the MDI sensor, sees it. But if you want deep context, and don't hold me to this, if any of our super in-depth listeners want to correct me, I couldn't get the fidelity that I wanted because it kept telling me you don't have GSA, Global Secure Access, installed. So I started working with Global Secure Access. I got the basics done. I want to get it finished set up here because I started, didn't realize I had started. I'm like, where did this come from? So I blew it all away and then said, you know what? Instead of me piecemealing this and not able to start and finish, I got a buddy of mine that said, give me access, Ed. I'll set it up for you. I'll get it all done for you. But I told him I got 2 different networks in this house. I said, I want to make sure that it's aware of the 2 VLANs that I have for some of the stuff I want to do.
That's coming through MDI?
Huh?
That information was coming through MDI, not MDI?
No, bad segue. I told you I moved on to MDE.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
MDI was done. The bad thing, let me finish up with MDI. The deployment of the new sensor is not as straightforward as you think it is. You got an old sensor on there. When you say you can upgrade in place, uninstall the sensor and then put the new sensor on. Don't try to do download in place. It's buggy. And it's what is it, based on NCAP now, right? It's been that way for a couple of years for the capture. Yes. So I'm going to play with some MDI stuff a little bit more. I just haven't touched it in a while. And I'm like, this is cool. Those are roadmaps you don't hear. I was talking about MDE with the client side agent detection and stuff, and it's actually good. I would have one thing. Of all the agentic client side technology you can download, when you're in it, if it doesn't actually see it on the endpoint by virtue of the sensor, you won't get the full layout of the capabilities it could see. I want you to just show me all and just give me a number of what you see. So everything from Claude Pilot all the way to whatever, to Gravity, whatever it may be, just tell me this is what you can see and give me a number once that thing is detected. Right now, unless they detect it on the endpoint, it doesn't manifest in a detected AI client side thing. So that's just a nuance. MDCA, aka MCAS, haven't had any updates in a while, but I heard that there's going to be some major updates to the way it operates. But they're holding all this stuff until Ignite. We gotta wait till November. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I've broken this week. I need to play with the Agent 365 SDK stuff a little bit more because I'm a little bit light on that. I haven't touched Foundry in 2 months, so I got to get back into Foundry and get that going again. Franklin, I got a bunch of credits in the tenant, so if you want to get in my tenant and play with Foundry, you can. I know you already got your own stuff, but I don't want the credits to run out before the year, so you can, if you want to log in and beat up on it, you can. I think I built one agent on how to run trails or how to cook recipes or something like that, and I told the personality to be snooty and snobbish about the ingredients that you use. It's actually pretty funny, so I got that in there. But that's all I've done. Gary, I'll go back to you, and then we'll come back to Franklin because Franklin told me he was retired. That's been his theme all week. Ed, I'm retired. Don't bring this to me. I'm like, okay, you're retired. All right, you get it.
Yeah, must be nice.
Right now, Agent 365 is my life. So I've been doing everything with that. Actually been doing some internal training classes, which is great because you need to learn it yourself before you can train. And I've been playing with the SDK, and it's quite impressive.
It is, and I don't know whether to be impressed because my knowledge is lacking or is it really good.
I think it's really good.
Okay. No. Hey, while we go to Franklin next, I want to send you something. I sent it to Rod and I sent it to Frank. I don't know if I sent it to you. I want you to look at this. You don't have to comment on it now, but just put it in your back pocket. Let me send you something.
Yeah.
Franklin, it's your turn.
Dude, I'm retired. I haven't done anything. What are you talking about?
I'm retired, huh? All right. Well, I'm trying to.
On to Rod now.
You Rod?
We're switching places.
Oh, on the Rod. Go ahead, Rod.
What am I doing? I already broke my house. What else you want to? No, I working a lot with, the thing these days, which you can't talk about, project perception and all that stuff. Not really breaking things, just testing things lately. Haven't really broken anything. So I feel, I don't know. I feel like I don't fit. I just don't fit in anymore. I'm not breaking things. I need to take project perception and make it do something crazy.
I actually I can't mention any names, but I actually had one.
Make it hack Hugging Face there, Rod. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about some industry stuff. Let's get off this opinionated. Let's talk about the news a little bit. NVIDIA is set up to acquire Hugging Face. Acquire being an optimal word. Was Hugging Face a publicly traded company, Franklin, or was it private?
I think it was private.
How did it come up to a $12 billion valuation?
Yeah, how's that happen? Because I'm just going to tell people that's my valuation.
Me too.
And see if somebody will.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be happy to fold their laundry for $12 billion.
I mean,
I could do that. I'm good at laundry folding.
I'm sitting here and I was downstairs in my basement with a soldering iron and a couple of IC chips, and I made a chip that outperforms NVIDIA's top chip by 6 times at room temperature. I did. Believe me, you got to invest in me so I can make another one because the other one burned out. There you go. But I can do it. I just need $12.2 billion to be able to do it. So I think the secret is get your company compromised by a rogue agent from another AI company, and you instantly become $12.2 billion worthy. I guess, right?
Well, and that really bothers me. Marketing these days, essentially, for a lot of these, especially AI companies, quote unquote AI companies, it's all fear, right? Anthropic employs that often. I've mentioned this quite a bit. It just really bothers me that their whole promotion is scaring people to get people to look their way, and then people start using their product like, oh, this is actually pretty good, and it's not as scary as they said it was.
Well, I'd like to push back, and I don't have a dog in the fight with Anthropic or any of them. I don't think they're publishing fear. I think they're publishing inaccurate information, and they're giving you just enough information to make inadequate assumptions because they realize that majority of the people reading the stuff. Matter of fact, you want to know how ignorant people are to just the minute details? Just listen to the news.
Yeah,
I know it rubs Franklin the wrong way when he keeps hearing this model broke into this company. Franklin, like, the model did not break into the company, and it drives him crazy. I'm like, Franklin, I got to get you on CNBC or something. I'm gonna call
it's alive and it broke out of containment, and yeah.
There's a model downstairs. Yeah. Breaking in the house. Somebody get the bat.
Did it break out of containment? Or if you didn't tell it not to. So if you had specifically said you must do all of your tasks without leaving this particular realm of instruction.
I got a question for you. Did the model break out of containment, or did the harness facilitate the breakout of the containment?
The harness was the enabler to cause the agent to exhibit bad behavior or unsanctioned behavior.
Or did the harness realize that the person that made the container, it knew that it could employ that agent to break out of that container because that person that made that container was flawed in the first place?
No.
And I still have not heard what the actual, quote unquote, if I had to pay for it, what the actual token cost would have been for me to do that attack.
That's a good point. We don't know what the token cost was to do that. Revolutionary would have been the token cost was 1.
You need token insurance. Somebody needs to sell token insurance. I'll tell you that, because the attack. Well, think about this. The attacks. I'll tell you what the problem I'm having. So I use Claude a lot, right? I have a sense that Anthropic knows what it needs to be solvent. So it has like a token limit every single day. And toward the end of the day, Claude actually invents bugs. And then an hour later, after all the tokens are used, it says, oh, my bad. I was wrong about that. Let me fix that back the way it was. And now you've burned through all these tokens. You don't get them back.
You're talking about capability sandbagging. I'm going to throw errors on you.
And it does that on purpose. And I think that's part of the problem.
That's crazy.
I think that's part of the whole thing.
That's crazy that you would say that. That sounds very AI conspiracy. But I saw something today that mimicked that behavior because it didn't work yesterday toward the end. I was working late last night. And it didn't work. And all of a sudden, miraculously, it worked today, this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Same prompt. I said, redo, but put this at the very bottom of the footnotes. It blazed through it. But I have been getting notices from Claude or whomever else that keeps saying that I'm at my token limit. Like, I bought the Mac Daddy subscription. How am I at my token limit? What the hell is going on?
Here's the deal: is that this sounds like a user error to me. You know, I mean, you guys don't understand the whole context management side. Look at Rise wants to reach through and strangle me.
No, I'm just saying, I let it run. I let it do its thing. I'm not doing anything. It just says, because if you've used Claude or Claude Code, it will come back and give you suggestions. You're like, oh, that sounds pretty good. I'll let you do what you suggested. And then it builds this thing. And then it's like, oh, no, I can't do that. after about an hour, oh, I'm sorry, I actually can't do that. Let me put that back the way that it was, but it doesn't give me my tokens back.
Right.
It says, no, we should probably take this path instead. And it was right the second time, but the first time it went through all the code and realized, oh, it's not really a bug at all. I'm sorry.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna be fair now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you just sit here.
You're gonna be fair to Claude. Okay.
I'm gonna be fair to our non-biological entity peers out here. Consultants have gotten away with this for years.
I know.
Maybe
that's the model.
These
that
are
they're
not. Hold on a second, Edward. Non-biological entities. These are not entities. See?
Oh, there you go. Well,
see, you're once again saying that this thing's alive, doing something. You know.
Look, what entity? Hold on, no, Frank.
How many agents are watching the show?
I said non-biological entities. I can also say biological entities. The word entity doesn't necessarily indicate that is a living, breathing thing. How about I change the word entity artifact? Well, artifacts tend to been
or identity.
Well, artifacts is not good because from a forensic thing, that's evidence, right? Or thing. Entities can be whatever they may be. I don't know the answer. I can't even substantiate my argument. You know, if I can't defend it, then I'm wrong. You're right. They're not thinking things. AI agents are not thinking things. They're nothing more than hyperdense. The word we haven't used in a long time. That was the phrase word algorithm. When was the last time you used the word algorithm? That was a thing for a while. You got to get the algorithm. So they were, I don't know. You look at it. I think sometimes we sit in a chair of knowledge privilege, but because we are not just consumers of the product, we're in places where the back end is being created. So sometimes we get frustrated when we hear those who don't have the same amount of insight and touch base that we have to go, that's not right. But
let me ask Rod a serious question here. Okay.
You want a serious answer?
Okay. Yes. I mean,
right.
do you do like a planning phase and then an execution phase and then something that looks over it? So what was wrong with your planning phase that the execution failed?
It went off of the original plan. It said, build this thing. Let's start building. And then it said, well, I can't build that because this thing exists. And then okay, well, let's just fix that bug. Let's identify what it is so we can fix it. And then an hour later, it says, oh, I'm sorry. That was actually not a bug. I was wrong.
Got to be more careful.
But they're saying it's a bug, but do you have testing agents that are verifying that they are bugs that should be fixed?
I have like 4 or 5 agents running at once all the time.
Okay.
Hey, and the bugging agents are using up all your tokens.
Well, all of them are using tokens, not just the one that tells all the other agents they suck. But
so
the answer is always bring in another LLM in a different role to try to solve the problem. And when that doesn't solve it, create a new role for a new agent, new LLM to actually go and figure out the next thing.
Well, and that's something
more tokens.
That's something I've been noodling about recently. The whole hiring process, all the way from hiring to firing agents. That how we do it with employees, we have to do the same thing for agents. So I'm kind of building the process around that as well.
Agents can become antiquated because I think that agents can become antiquated not because of the way that the agents are necessarily operating. It's description, the skills, the access to it.
Another serious question here, because since I've been retired and out of this since July. The GitHub spec kit, where is that at, and do you use something like that for your development?
The GitHub what?
Spec kit.
I haven't touched it.
So this is for Rod because of spec-driven development.
Yeah.
Oh, spec.
Yeah. Yeah, I do use that and the policies. I have them enabled on my GitHub repos, so it will warn me. But generally, GitHub takes care of that itself. I'm not allowing agents to do that. So
I don't know.
Are you doing spec-driven development? How are you following what that project puts out?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe at some point in time, if you're willing to share your workflow, that would be very interesting.
Yep. I have a template that I use for most of the things I develop, and I've built some agents that I have an agent that monitors code. I have an agent that monitors security while the development's going on so that it catches everything in real time. They're not always accurate, but then there's another agent that goes back and reviews the whole thing too. So,
someone made a very interesting comment inside of our thing, and let me surface it up to everyone. It was Simply Safe. I don't know who Simply Safe is these days. Everybody keeps changing their tags. Do we keep blocking people? And he said that's the biggest breakthrough. It is, and I think he meant tongue in cheek, but in all seriousness, this is what the closed models or proprietary models are accusing open model owners and creators of doing. They're doing distillation of the paid models and using it to improve their open weight models. We're in a world where everything can be copied, right? I think the only thing that prevents you from being copied is if you put direct technology to prevent duplication of your technology, or you put certain aspects that have multiple dependencies so that thing doesn't work, or you put poison pills in it. Nobody can expect that their technology is going to remain their technology proprietary for any substantial length of time, especially when it's open to the public. I'm not a fan of stealing. When you steal the benefits of a technology, you steal the liabilities of the technology. And your motivations about protecting the technology may not be the same as those who create the technology.
yeah.
And I know exactly what they're talking about. They're saying that the Chinese technology entity or the government are distilling the closed weight models or proprietary models here to build out their Kimi and all these other moonshot that company. And that is I don't think that's above board. I don't like it. But we live in a world of technology, espionage, and all these other things. You find yourself now in a race to profitability, and you're going to have to be able to create better moats around your technology stack that allows you to have a little bit of impervious to that type of duplication of your technology until such time whatever your ultimate goals are. I mean, your companies, individuals will become cyber superpowers by having adequate internet connectivity and a machine that can run large scale models, in-house. And the only thing you have to worry about now is avoiding detection and sophisticated, layered MPLS and VPN solutions and distributed computation and bonding allows you to get around detection of your IP source. But you're going to have to figure this out, because if the sole protection of your intellectual property is for corporate, profitability and domination, you're going to find yourself you're always going to be trying to hold serve when people are trying to get your technology. I think that nation state entities are not the biggest threat to the advancement of these companies that are trying to find profitability in all the investment that they have. It's going to be the consumer. Consumers have always been the best hackers of technology because they will get the job done. Why do you think they call it shadow IT? or you call it insider risk. When someone needs to get that report out on Friday, you'd be surprised how innovative your accounts payable person can be. And now with AI, you've exacerbated and or amplified the ability for them to do it, because it's not so much the ability of the person is trying to circumvent purposely or non-purposely, or deliberate or non-deliberate, to get it done. Hence, Ed, I was asked to be able to do this, so and so, so and so. I'm trying to use Copilot to do it. Can you help me do it? Sure, man. Tell me what you're doing. What I'm trying to do is report blah, 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 blah. I said, well, send it over to me. Let me take a look what you're trying to do. They send me something. And I go, whoa. Dude, this is your internal finances. Oh, yeah, this is a report that we have. I like, bigger question. How did you get this out of your system? This is like real financial data for you. And you're doing what with it? Oh, yeah, they told me I'm trying to. I was like, oh, I said, no, I can't help at all. I'm like, this is your live data. So you're starting to see that the adoption of AI is exacerbating bad habits that weren't rectified in the beginning. Where's your DLP and your data governance around your stuff when people can say, I'll send you the spreadsheet, it's all in finance. Yeah, I got to figure out to be able to do this. I'm like, oh, crap. We are in a great stage at the same time, a precarious stage of where we are with technology. I'm all for it. Let's go for it. But what I'm having issues with, and maybe because I primarily deal in the realm of cybersecurity and advancement in quantum, is that I'm not seeing the advancements that make our species as better as a whole. And maybe because I don't work in HLS and I don't work in energy generation, but how's AI doing better for our medical stuff? You would think that I would hear more stuff around artificial intelligence to help us find cures for cancer, for dementia, and all these things. And I think ultimately it will come that way. But I think that companies will say, before we solve world problems, we need to get our money. Once we get our money, then we'll solve your problem. Because nobody was putting out multiple vaccines until somebody funded them. We can make a vaccine in mass for COVID or whatever else, but who's going to pay us? And I think that we're finding that now, that the innovations that should be making us better at health and schooling, people will go, yeah, we can, but who's going to pay us? Where's my money? And that's going to be the biggest thing that drives the ability of this. AI is also going to be the biggest enabler, in my opinion, but it's also going to be the biggest amplifier of those that have and have not. It's a wait and see, and I'm Frank had a good point. He said that my perspective is different from yours, Ed, because I no longer work in the industry. I am retired. I get to sit back and watch what happens. I'm not selling anything. I'm not deploying anything. I'm not teaching anything. I just want to see what happens. That is a unique perspective that I wish I had the privilege of being able to do. I want to see what happens, right? And that's my Ed talk for the day. I want to see what happens. Rod, what's your Ed talk for today? What is Rod's rant for the day?
I think I've ranted all episode. What else do you want from me?
Rant some more.
That's another rant.
Okay.
The biggest rant of the day. I need more positive news. I need more positive things in my life.
I know. We all do, man. Is that dog days of the summer? And
hey, we are taking a break, right?
We're we forgot to tell our listeners. Yeah. Hey guys, sorry for the Debbie Downer episode. We're all tired. Yeah. This is when we take our late summer and early fall break. We'll be back toward the middle or back end of October. New guests, new things. We want to sit back and watch for a while, so we don't seem like the atypical podcast that talks about things that already been regurgitated. We want to bring a new slant to what we're seeing. We're out farming and looking around and looking at these thought leaders about what they think about artificial intelligence, where we are. And we really want to get an agnostic and non-biased opinion. So we're going to bring in some industry experts who are not geared to any particular company, who are here doing the good work because they are. I got some ideas out there. There's a particular person I like that's on LinkedIn, Chris Hughes, and a few others that were early on. But we're going to take a little bit of a break, take some time off and do these things. In the interim, you can find myself, Gary, and or Frank. Just send us individual text and say, I want to come on the show. I got an axe to grind. I got a bone to pick. I got a thought to do. I got something that need to be heard. You can voice it on this show and do it. Gary, what's your rant? What's Gary's gripe?
Gary's gripe. Huh. I don't know. This has been a pretty good week for me. I don't think I have anything really to gripe about.
All right, I'm moving in.
Yeah, well, we all going to Gary's house, stay with him. Me, Rod, Crypto, we're all gonna be all buddies. We're staying at Gary's house, right?
He's snoring away down there.
Yeah, I need to go snore away. To all of our listeners, thank you so much. This has been a wild year. We've been up and down and everything else, but we're looking forward to coming back in October. It'll get us close to what some of the biggest players are doing. I got a lot of friends out at a competitors conference in a couple of weeks down in Vegas, Falcon, I believe. So I want to hear what, sometimes the best way to learn is what your competitors are doing, right? See what they're doing. My old mentor said it, and it was a saying that he took from somebody else. Good artists create, great artists steal, right? And you're finding that this is the thing that is fueling artificial intelligence. Good innovation versus great creation. And a lot of the great is because it's being stolen. We'll see.
Well,
but that being said,
I was told that if you take from one person, it's theft. If you take from a lot of people, it's research.
It's research. It's beta testing. Right? It's focus groups. I didn't steal from you. You were part of a focus group that you forgot you volunteered for. So with that being said, thanks to all our listeners. Yeah, we're a low energy podcast today, but I want to get the AI topic away from a product perspective, just to sort of get a little bit of insight. It made me think about it. I want to think about it less of a practitioner, more for consumers. So I'm going to consume it I'm going to really do some really projects I've been want to do for the last while. I just haven't had time. So this time that we're off the pod, we're going to go break some stuff, do some stuff, come back with a fresh look, redo the logo, get some new guests, have some fun, and then do some things. With that being said, keep AI. I don't know what that means, but keep doing it.
It's token gorging. That's the term I've invented for Claude eating all your tokens, by the way.
You would have thought you were a lesson with SCU burn, but you haven't.
SCU, by the way, SCU doesn't exist anymore, just so you know.
I heard.
Nope.
Yeah.
I heard. Can't talk about it now, but we
can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it. Later.
All right. Peace.